Well, hello guys. Thank you for joining us for this first episode of Silver Trade, our Silver Trade podcast. My name is Rod. Here with us, we have Aaron. He'll be joining us today. This podcast is just a community, a space for talking about precious metals, the world economy, business, everything related to it. We want to keep it fun. We want to keep it lighthearted. We want to just have a conversation and go deeper into it. We want to hear your comments. We want to hear from you. We want to create this space for information, fun, and just have a little space during the week for this. So let's get to it. Well, thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Again, we have Aaron today. He's a really good friend. He's very involved with precious metals, so we're gonna kind of like interview him for today, and he's gonna share some fun stories with us. So, Aaron, tell us a little bit about yourself. What got you into precious metals?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, to be honest, the Lord, I feel like, got me into precious metals, but thanks for having me on. I'm excited to talk about this today to be fun. But really, my interest started in precious metals when I was a young kid, and my brothers and them always bringing them home, showing me how you could buy, sell, and beat the markets. That was something that really got me into it. But not until about 3.5 years ago was I called to actually work in precious metals. So I was working in precious metals. I started to really grasp on to how you could actually utilize them to really hedge yourself against the world downturn that we've seen in the past couple of years as well. And so it just took interest, worked in it for a couple of years, and now I'm heavily involved working at a precious metals company. Been there for a couple of years, just doing everything in between with it all. So it's been a fun journey, but that's a quick snippet of how I got into it.
That's pretty cool. Do you buy precious metals? Do you sell? What do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I work for the precious metals company, buying and selling, but I also buy and sell myself. I think it's just a fun game. It's a really good game. And if you're diligent, I think you always win in the end with precious metals. That's the reality.
Why do people buy precious metals? Why would you get invested into precious metals?
Man, I have to be honest. I think the reason most people buy precious metals in this day and age is because they're scared. But that's just my opinion. Because,
scared of what?
I mean, you look at the world nowadays, and I think the reality is people are scared of presidencies, elections right now in this time and period, but scared of losing their money. That's the reality. I think why everybody eventually gets into precious metals is for two things. Either they're scared of losing money or they want to make money. In my opinion, that's really the main two things that people get into it for. And then off those two fingers, you kind of expand and you have the whole tree and roots of the 1,000 things you can do with precious metals.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it like that way. I would say precious metals for me is a way to make money as an investment vehicle, just like any other else. But that's pretty interesting. Would you say people are scared right now with everything that's going on with the world and the stock market on Monday? And what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think the reality is you look at, even if you're working at precious metals or not, if you have friends or whoever you talk to, most people I talk to every day, the biggest thing they're trying to do is either hedge against a bad presidency, hedge against a recession, or a lot of them do believe that we're getting closer to end times. That's a big common theme I hear all the time. And so hedging themselves ready for disaster is what I get. And so, yeah, I think people are scared of 1,000 things. I think the biggest topics right now, if you look at it, is the people being scared that we're going to have another presidency that leads us into another bad recession. If we keep having quarters after quarters that are going down in the stocks, going down on quarterly reports, you're going to see precious metals take a big jump and you're going to be glad you got into it.
Not to get too political, but just what's your perspective if Trump wins the presidency again? What would that mean for precious metals or for the economy? We don't have to go very deep, but for precious metals.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can see it again, what he did in his first presidency. Not getting too political, but if we talk about for the precious metals industry, I do think you're going to see precious metals jump a little bit, but not a ton, because I think what's going to happen in the end is you get Trump in and everybody kind of sees him right now as the economy savior. This guy that's going to come in, he's going to save our economy. His slogan, he's going to make America great again, or keep America great again, whatever you believe. But the reality is, I don't think we're going to see precious metals go crazy if Trump gets in office. Because I think a lot of the business owners, with him reducing the limitations, reducing everything there, you're going to see a lot of those business people get a little bit more interested in stocks again. Versus last time he was in presidency, it was amazing. Precious metals went down a little bit until COVID hit, obviously. And I mean, that would be my last point, is nobody has a crystal ball, right? The reality is we all know what COVID did to you, me, whoever. It was great for precious metals. That's the reality. When world disaster happens, precious metals is where you want to be.
It's kind of like a safe haven.
Absolutely.
That's where people want to have their money when disaster hits, because it's not a matter if it hits. We've lived in enough, I would say, to know that when disaster hits.
Exactly. I mean, I think that's the nail on the head, is when disaster hits. Because no matter what you believe in, I don't care what God you believe in, the God I believe in tells me that disaster is going to happen, right? Mm-hmm. But even if you don't believe in something like that, if you've lived more than 10 years on this earth, you know disaster will strike. Mm-hmm. And so for me, that's where I encourage people, and that's why I love precious metals, is at the end of the day, it is that safe haven. You can make money on it like stock trading. You can hedge against recessions. But if the worst comes to worst and disaster happens, you have your money in the one thing you want to have it in.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I think I would ask, what do you don't like about precious metals?
What I don't like about it, man, I have to be honest. I'm a pretty aggressive person when it comes to investing. Mm-hmm. I'm a pretty aggressive person that likes to see money move back and forth quickly. And so I think that's one thing personally that I don't like about precious metals, is the fact that sometimes it takes a while. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you have to be diligent. And that's why I use the word diligent. And you have to be patient with it, and know that you're hedging yourself against the future, not right now. Every now and then I've gotten lucky with my trades in precious metals, where the market goes way up and I'm able to make actually money on that in the moment, but not always. And so I would say one of the things that can distract me a little bit from precious metals is quicker money-making investments. Mm-hmm. But back to what I love about precious metals is I've lost so much money on those quick investments. I've also made money on those quick investments. I've never really truly lost in precious metals. It's always been a positive. So there's two sides of that coin. I would say the next thing I don't like about precious metals right now, and why I'm so excited about silver trade, is the back and forth you have to have with it. You have to buy it. You most of the time have to have it shipped in your house, stored in a depository, and you have to be such a part of the process. It can take a long time to really see the return. It can also take a lot of work. And that's why I would say I'm super excited about something like silver trade, because you're telling me I can actually buy something, trade it without having to put my hands on it and do a bunch of work and make money. That's what I'd say. The last thing I don't like about precious metals is sometimes all the work that really has to go into it in order to own them.
Mm-hmm. Same. I would say it's the same thing. It's just slower. You have to be patient with it. It's long term, almost every time. Now, every now and then you can do a quick sale and make a little bit of margin, but that's pretty cool. Let's edit a little bit here while I think of another question.
That would be good. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. That flows pretty well.
That flowed really well.
Yeah. We'll get some good clips out of that for sure.
Yeah. Let me think of one or two wrapping up questions.
Let's see.
Now tell me. No, that would be. Okay, one question that I thought not real yet, but could what do you see for the future of precious metals in the next upcoming months? Because we see, okay, yeah, I know how to phrase it. Okay, let's keep going. Now, I think this is a good question, but what do you see for the future of precious metals? Like gold right now, it's riding all-time highs, but silver is declining a little bit. Like silver had a good run, and we all thought silver was gonna run up to the 50s. That's what we were all hoping for. And it kind of like lost its strength, but gold kept its strength. So what do you think comes next for precious metals in the next few months?
In the next few months, I think with the election. Honestly, I think that's still going to play a big part in that. I think if we do see Biden or Kamala in this case, at this time, it's now Kamala Harris that gets in. I think if somebody like that gets in, I think you're going to see gold continue to trend upwards towards 3,000, maybe even 3,200, to be honest, just with the hype around it. I think after it hits around that cap place, it will come back down and reside around $2,900. That's just personal opinion and research there. Here's one thing interesting about silver. I think gold is a safeguard. Gold is kind of like your safe investment on a stock like Apple or something like that, Tesla, that you know is already doing well. It's probably going to keep trending up. And silver is kind of that penny stock, not necessarily all the way down at the bottom, a little bit more risky, but man, I think there's honestly a lot more reward in silver because the reality is it's cheap. You can get it easy right now, and it still has essentially a limit on how much we have on it. And what happens is if you get another recession, if you get another disaster in the world, I think you're going to see silver move up towards 50, 60. There's even some that I'm following that say it could hit $92 within the next 2 years. Wow. If that happens, I'm going to be honest, that's why I have all of my precious metals right now in this moment. 90% of them are in silver, only 10% in gold. Because the reality is I'm betting on that. I think you're going to see silver go crazy in the next couple of years.
Yeah, that makes sense in the sense that silver has some real use from an industrial perspective.
Absolutely.
So by shortage of supplies, supply and demand, it makes sense that silver, once we run out of supplies, it's going to grow. It has to go up.
It has to. I think that's the reality is precious metals have to go up. That's the reality. You aren't going to see the graph go like this all the way towards 2024 and then eventually just plummet down. Mm-hmm. And so that's what sometimes confuses me when people are questioning, why would I get into precious metals? I just say, why not? If you've seen a stock for the past 100 years continually go up, it has its dips, but it always comes back. To me, that's the best stock to invest in. And especially silver, you've seen it go up to what, $53 before? Mm. Now you're going to look at it probably passing that in its next spike. Right now you can buy in for $26 to $30. If that's anywhere in the market for me on a normal deal, I'm doing that every single day of the week. Mm-hmm. I still think at the end of the day, we all diversify our portfolios. I think for me, I love real estate. I love stocks. I love trading everything. But I'm going to put myself diversified and I'm going to have a great chunk of that in precious metals.
That was going to be actually my one last question. What else do you like investing in?
That's a great question. You know, I'm going to be honest. One thing that does scare me about precious metals is some people can get so caught up in precious metals. I've seen people put 80% of their net wealth in precious metals. I'm going to be honest. My personal opinion is I would advise against that. I don't think it's smart to take 80% and get rid of your diversity just because you're so bought into precious metals. I think precious metals are awesome. I think they're great, but I think you should have diversity because at the end of the day, we can win on both sides. Mm-hmm. Precious metals is going to go up, but hey, for me, I love real estate. I love investing in houses. I love flipping houses. I love having property because honestly, it's very similar to precious metals. Property's gone up the past 500 years, 1,000 years, whatever you want to say. Property is one of the things that really matches precious metals most of the time. Mm-hmm. And then for me, I think I just really go to investing and playing around with stocks and making sure there's safe investments there and mutual funds. But I would say right now, to be completely honest, my portfolio looks a lot, probably 30% is all in precious metals. And then the rest of 70% is spread out a ton of things.
Interesting.
But most of my investments right now are real estate and precious metals.
Interesting. That's pretty cool. Yeah, same here. I would say I'm more diversified right now in money markets, just continuous yielding of money, a little bit of real estate, and very little precious metals. But the hope is to bring it up a little bit more. But that's pretty cool. Hey, Aaron's done a great job. We would love to have you a lot more in the channel. Hey, if you really want to join us, you could even co-host some of the meetings here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of the interviews. But we want to keep interviewing people, really interesting people. We're going to have people that you know from other YouTube channels. We're going to have really interesting people that work in precious metals companies. We're also gonna interview the normal people that are just walking around there that you didn't know are heavily invested in precious metals, or even heavily invested in other investment vehicles, and we get to talk about precious metals, of why yes or why no. So thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment below if you like this episode, if you have any questions that you want us to answer, and we'll see you on the next episode.